Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Morning Bite. Today we're specifically targeting big fish. So we're targeting big flathead, and we're throwing big lures. Okay, so we're throwing glides, we're throwing swim baits, big jerk baits, big paddle tails, all that sort of stuff. So without ado, we're just going to get straight into it because right now is the perfect time to bite for me. And probably start off with the My Lure Box Soft Glide in GC Glitter. The water is a little bit cleaner than it was the other day. So we're going to start off with that first, and then we're just going to get straight into it without too much talking and all that. It's just going to be straight up fishing, guys, and I'm just going to try and get that really big fish for you guys. And then, you know, throughout the period, I'm going to obviously explain on what I'm doing and all that sort of stuff. So I'll get yours on my chest and we'll get into it. Fingers crossed we get a fish today, because on the last trip out, I actually got nothing. The water was a little bit dirty, and yeah, I didn't get a bite at all. So hopefully today's a different story and we get some fish, eh? Let's get into it. I'll get yours onto my chest. Alright, like I said, I'm going to start off with the My Lure Box Soft Glide. And see where we go from there. Like I said, I'm going to be chucking big jerk baits, swim baits, top water. There's going to be a range of stuff until I figure out what they're going to be eating on, guys. So it should be good. Okay. The area I'm fishing today is a sandbank with deep incurves throughout the sandbank, and that holds a lot of big fish at the right tide and times. So we're just going to get straight into it, guys, and see if we can get a fish, eh? Alrighty, let's start casting. Right, so the first one, punch up here, right up into the shallow, and just see if there's a fish sitting up in there, and see how we go from there, eh? Currently sitting in about 0.4 of a metre. I'm casting up in less than 0.4. Oh, we just had a spook. So yeah, I'm casting up in less than 0.4 of a metre, so it's like super shallow. But yeah, we'll just keep going and see if we can't get a fish, eh? Beautiful morning too. Super quiet. We're going to have a southerly. We've got a southerly at the moment, and that is going to probably gust up to about 20 or so gusts of wind, which is not ideal, but we'll see how we go. I didn't get an eat over there, so I'm just going to fan my cast out, guys, and just see how we go. So the rod I'm using for my soft glides is a Shimano R-Spec Revolution T30. It's a 8 to 15 kilo, and it's 7.3 or 7.4. It is a fairly beefy sort of rod, but it punches the soft glides out with stuff or effort. And obviously the idea with the soft glides is the bigger the cast, the more distance the more distance you cover. And obviously with soft glides and big lures, distance is key, because you're fishing areas of the water that you haven't disturbed. So therefore, because you haven't disturbed it, it's going to be more better to fish. And if you do have a weary flathead that's following and it doesn't want to eat, it's got a longer time to follow the lure, and more time of it for it to strike if it wants to strike. So there is a bit of bait hanging around out there, guys, so we could be all right. Just hope there is going to be a bigger girl here that wants to feed, obviously. So I am panning just to see if there's any surface action throughout this part of the flat, because wherever there's going to be surface action, obviously there's going to be, fish sitting there. So yeah, it's always a good idea to keep your eyes open, just in case there is a boof or something like that. Because if there is a boof, that means that there is a fish sitting there feeding, and obviously once a flathead reveals itself, it's it's got to feed. So my retrieve with the soft glide is obviously a little bit different to what how you're supposed to be fishing them, but I'm just looking for that erratic kick at the moment, more than just a glide. And obviously throughout every cast I'm sort of changing it up a little bit just to see if what the actual flathead are going to feed, whether it be just a 1, 2, 3 or a twitch pause for a long time and then twitch pause for a long time. Just take us off here just a little bit. I feel I'm a little bit too far onto the to the section here. So now we're sitting in about 0.6, so we were up on an area a little bit too close. That's okay. When I got here it was pretty dark, so. don't get a bite within about 10 to 15 minutes of throwing this, I will change it up. I'll probably go to like a jerk bait or something along those lines. But like I said, I'll still keep fanning it out and see what happens. I do have a bit of bait flicking over this sort of section here, so there could be a few flatties sitting over in there. We'll give a cast over there in a minute or two. I also do have top water as well, so I could potentially throw a top water out, but I want the sun up just a little bit more before I do that. So the retrieve I'm looking for, guys, when I'm in this sort of section is more of a, especially with the soft glide, is more of a rip, sort of make it dance, you know, like that sort of style, sort of thing. Just, I feel in this sort of position, in this sort of area, that sort of retrieve sort of works a bit better, other than your normal standard glide from the soft glide. But in saying that, you got to vary it up. If you don't vary it up, you don't know what they're actually going to feed on, guys. So the water is a little bit cold, so I am going to have to slow down my retrieves quite a fair bit, as in the pauses and all that sort of stuff, because if I don't, then I could be losing a bite because I'm doing my retrieve too fast. One of my mates, he actually fishes the soft glide as well, and he does a really different sort of retrieve than me. He sort of casts it out, lets it sit down there, and he just does like a big rip like that, and then just lets it sit, and that actually works pretty well as well. So there's all different types of retrieves that you can do with the soft glides. That's why that makes them so versatile, in my opinion, and that's part of the reason why I'm so much of a fan of the soft glides. Not only because they work, it's because they're so versatile. You can use them as a skipping top water bait. All you're doing there is just putting your rod tip up high and doing the shaker retrieve, and it sort of just brings them across the surface a little bit. So if you do have surface fish, surface eating fish, then you can get them off the surface with the soft glide. So I'll do that retrieve now just to show you what I mean. So rod tip up high, doing the shaker retrieve, but a little bit different. You're just shaking the tip, but in a slight bit of reel, and that sort of just makes the soft glide sort of glide on top, and then you can just let it fade down. Generally on that fade down is when you'll get your strike, or if they're like ultimately eating hard, then they'll strike while it's pulsating across the surface. So yeah. But yeah, we'll just keep plugging along, guys, and see if we can't pick one up. And see what happens. How stunning is that sunrise? Have a go at it. So beautiful. I love this time in the morning, I really do. Everything's so peaceful, so quiet. Such an amazing time in the morning. Except for when the mosquitoes and the midges are out. Because that's, you know, annoying. So I'm not getting too much love on the soft light, so they might, oh, actually there was an eat just over there in that shallow there. So I'm just going to cast over into that. Right over near that shallow area just there. If I cast in front of that band, there's a band that runs through there. If I cast just behind that band, I might be able to get him to come up. Oh, no, that was bottom. Had just go on though, didn't I? No. So, had me going too. It's a very, on that edge there, it's a very sharp, uplift. There's another eat there, looks like a bit of bait going over the top of it. Okay. What I might do is reposition that cast in there again. Just a little bit wider this time. Let him sink. So guys, the reason why I let it sink after I cast it is because the simple fact is that splash is a draw. So that draws the fish into the lure. John has explained it a couple of times that it actually sounds like a mullet jumping and landing. That is not for you, Norm. Go away. You bastard. The reason why I call this guy Norm is because he annoys the shites out of me and he chases after the lures. He doesn't give you a break. Let me tell you. That's why I call him Norm. So, yeah. And I swear he only does it to me.